In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at an extremely active period here through the next 2 or 3 weeks here of July. And when I say very active, I don't just mean typical very active July, because it already is pretty active on average. We are talking about excessively active, well beyond what is typical, and we're going to be showing you evidence of that throughout this video. Lots of major storm systems and different dynamics moving into the east, and even more tropical concerns, in my opinion, that look quite similar to this previous one that we had. But if we move later into the hurricane season, wouldn't be surprised if one of these, or maybe even there'll be multiple, will be a little bit more impactful. So we're going to be discussing all of these things today. Let's just go ahead and dive into things. And first off, we're taking a look here at the previous 3 days of temperatures, and you can see that we've been much cooler in the west than what is typical. We call this a negative PNA, and a lot of times this forces warmer air to move into the central and eastern states, which as a whole you can see has definitely occurred. There has been some cooler areas in the central and eastern states, but the overwhelming majority here is warmer than normal. As far as what's upcoming, we can see that we have undergone a bit of a temperature flip versus what we've seen the previous 3 days. Here is for tomorrow on Tuesday the 8th. And we see warmer conditions along the west, which we call the opposite, a positive PNA. And instead of the warmth rising up into the east, we see the cooler air actually sinking down into the central and eastern states. Obviously, for this time of year, when we see cooler temperatures, it's much more of a good thing. We're actually talking about temperatures that are a lot more enjoyable to be outside in. So for people that work outdoors, for people that have outdoor plans at any point, this is beautiful weather. Talking a lot more like lower 80s, maybe even upper 70s here for northern parts. This is just beautiful, beautiful weather for this time of year. Wednesday the 9th isn't too different. Of course, we do see some cooler air trying to infiltrate the northwest there, which could be that PNA flipping. Time will tell here, of course. Here's Thursday on the 10th, and we can see that this northwest area is considerably more cold by this point. We do see a lot of this warmth is on the move towards the central states and towards the eastern states, where we still have some cooler air, especially laying flat across the deeper south areas and extending a little bit up there into the northeast, although that's a lot closer to normal. We see some yellows and blues. It's very typical weather up there for Thursday on the 10th. Friday the 11th, something interesting happens though. We kind of get rejected here with this negative PNA flip, as we see warmer air starting to take back over for this west coast. And this cooler air mass that was trying to take over along that west coast is actually more transient there, as it's actually moving towards the east, maybe bringing another shot of, again, this very pleasant weather for this time of year. So by Saturday the 12th, we can see that warm up in the west is very apparent. The central states, especially the central and northern plains there, are very cold compared to normal. And by the time we're reaching Sunday the 13th, it does die down and we see warmer air in the east as a whole. But the overall trend here, let's look at Wednesday the 16th, which is right around the 10-day mark. So keep in mind that this is more into the long range. So you're going to want to take it with a grain of salt, as this is very far out. But we do see this positive PNA look still around here for the west coast, and we do see a little bit more of an intense shot of cooler air potentially moving towards the east by this point. So keep that in mind as well. Thursday the 17th, Friday the 18th, that's around for the eastern states again. Saturday the 19th, the immediate east coast is still much cooler. We see a lot of the central states dealing with potentially a heat wave though. This is very far out, so the specific details aren't as critical. But all the way by the 20th, 20th, 21st, 22nd here, we see another more major cool down moving in again. So if this entire model run, if we take it as a whole and it is correct for the most part, we will be seeing a overall cooler eastern pattern as opposed to warmer from this point, July 7th through July 20th. Now that sounds hard to come by for this time of year, but it's not unheard of. Definitely going to be interesting to see how this shapes up. It's worth noting that cooler air, especially when it's around for these areas specifically, is a lot more supportive of low pressure and overall tropical development, like we just saw with Chantel. Any of these areas, when they're dealing with these cooler temperatures and likely lower pressure, it's just going to be a lot less hostile for those tropical systems to develop. I'm going to segue into that actually as we move into the storminess here, because we're going to be taking a look at this area at multiple points during this video, because right here we can even see there's a lot of instability around. It's just not excessive. We're going to see points where it's very explosive. So here's Monday on the 7th here today. We see lots of storms up and down the East Coast. We still have the remnants of Chantel right there over eastern Virginia, creating some windiness, some showers. Nothing too crazy at this point. It has died down considerably. We also have a pocket of storms around for the north central states that's really hanging out. And as we work our way through this, just watch this area, and more particularly this area here, because almost every single day, we're going over 15 days on this model run. Almost every single day we are going to see pretty interesting storms around constantly, at least chances of storms. So let's just move this towards tomorrow on Tuesday. Here, storms in that area. Really, the entire eastern states have a chance of thunderstorms for tomorrow on July 8th. It's really hard not to, it's really hard to find the areas here where we're missing any storms. Maybe Ohio, Indiana, Michigan there, a little bit of a hole. But this is really looking like there's going to be a chance pretty much everywhere. Wednesday on the 9th, that southeast area is richly saturated with moisture, and we're definitely seeing storms all around. Thursday the 10th, it moves a little bit northward, but we're still seeing a lot of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia dealing with these storms. So that's Thursday the 10th. Here is Friday the 11th. Again, that same area seeing chances of storms. A little bit of like a funnel boundary around here, which is another thing that encourages tropical activity. I don't think we're going to see one this soon, but we're watching for points like this where we have a lot of instability just hanging out off the southeast or perhaps in the Gulf here. Those are areas where in July, typically during hurricane season, very early hurricane season, we're looking at this being a prime area for development. So that's why we have such a forefront in our mind. That's where we're really paying attention, because we just saw Chantel come out of here. Clearly, it's very favorable, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see another one try to spark up. Saturday the 12th. Again, lots of instability just around in all of these areas. And over land, I mean, from the plains eastward, again, try to find me the area where we're not seeing a chance of storms. There's a couple of areas where we're seeing more dynamics at play, like this one here where we have this low and clearly a little bit of a swinging cold front. So don't be surprised if there's some severe weather chances that come out of all of this almost daily, but this could be a little bit more of an elevated risk with that dynamic of the cold front and everything. As we talk about Sunday here on the 13th, we'll actually move an hour forward because this is clearer. We see 989 there over the Hudson Bay, but we see this long stretching bowing out cold front where clearly there is some cooler air really shoving this thing through. Warm air likely trying to race up the eastern seaboard, and that creates a lot of instability, a lot of shear, a lot of bad stuff in here for potential severe weather. Same thing as our previous days. Here we see chances. We're going to need to just continue to watch. Monday here on the 14th, we see this arriving more so for the East Coast. Again, we're approaching 10 days in. This is probably like 9 days in, and we see that the southeast area has had chances of storms every single day up until this point. Tuesday the 15th, what's interesting is we get another very dynamic system. We get this low here, stretching cold front, clearly a warm front out to the east. So this might be one of our warmer days here in the east. Tuesday the 15th is definitely a day to watch for. And we have this cool front swinging in where we're going to have, again, another chance of severe weather across these plains and Midwest areas. Let's take this forward towards Wednesday. We see this one moving in a similar fashion straight up into the Hudson Bay. Cold front really bowing out and swinging through. This is a prime frame. This is the most saturated we've seen this Gulf and Southeast area. So this would particularly be a point to watch 9 days out next Wednesday for potential tropical concerns. At the very least, don't be surprised if we see the National Hurricane Center place some chances of development out here. Wouldn't surprise me one bit next week. Thursday the 17th, we see this whole eastern area just richly saturated. Cold front in the area. It's just really favorable for tropical development. And that continues. This is Wednesday, Thursday, and now Friday that we're seeing similar conditions here. Saturday, still seeing that chance. So you give it, 4, 5, 6 days in a row with really favorable conditions for tropical development. You have to think that that greatly increases the odds that we do see something coming out of here, because every single day we have that chance that something sparks up. So you put 6 days together, that's 6 days where there's a chance. Really just increases things. Sunday on the 20th, still this East Coast area richly saturated. Monday, you guessed it, nothing's really changed. Monday the 21st, and that's the end of the model run. So again, every single day, this area has been really, really looking stormy. I expect that this is going to be the stormiest period of probably the year, which July is typically the stormiest month in a lot of areas, so this makes sense. But really, really excessive. I've never seen it for an entire model run daily like this, especially that far northward. I've seen it for these really deep south areas, where it's just daily occurrences. But for areas, in the more mid regions of like the Midwest, mid Appalachian Mountain Range, like kind of lower mid Atlantic, that is just a crazy, crazy stuff. We see some monsoon activity as well here in the Four Corner states throughout this model run. So lots of interesting activity happening. Just a super active model run. And as we take a look at the total precipitation, basically everywhere within here is at least near normal. We see areas of definitely above normal precipitation, specifically these areas here. So let's look at the anomalies, and we can see mostly green in the eastern states. There's a couple of dry pockets like the Great Lakes, some regions of Florida and the Gulf Coast, but we see this pocket here, which is marginally above average. I would say half an inch to an inch above average in a lot of these spots. Over a 2-week period, which is pretty considerable. That's a noticeable difference, but it's mostly this southeast into the mid-Atlantic area. Where in the blues here, we are 2 to even, it looks like 6 inches above average over just the next 2 weeks. So that is double to triple your average precipitation in a 2-week period. That would be absolutely insane. Serious flooding risks will probably persist, especially since the time of year. Downpours are very common. So even though we're just seeing a couple inches above average for a lot of these areas, those that are hit by more intense pockets of thunderstorms might suddenly see a few inches in the span of an hour or two, and that creates those flash flooding risks. But I feel like these areas that are really, really saturated, we could have flat out just flooding risks from day after day after day of seeing really large amounts of rainfall. Just really, really dangerous stuff that I want you guys to be aware of. Let's take a look at the severe weather risks real quickly. This is for day 1, where we have pretty much our biggest risk of the whole 3 or 4 day period here. Looking at the lighter green areas, which is for, again, most of the central and eastern states, and really, I expect this to pretty much be a daily occurrence, just like the storms we saw in the model run. This will pretty much reflect that, so daily through the next 2 weeks. But those lighter green areas is your general thunderstorm risk area, where we expect general thunderstorms. But anything is possible. We don't really expect severe weather in there typically, but these are very tricky forecasts. This is one of the trickier things to forecast in the weather period. Severe weather and summertime thunderstorms. This is the time of year where the forecast is for no rain, but then there's thunderstorms and everybody's like, what just happened? Why is it thunderstorming? It wasn't supposed to. It's highly, highly, highly unpredictable this time of year. And all of my friends, all of my family are always asking me, hey, is it going to rain next Wednesday? What are the chances of rain? And my advice to everybody is pretty much always the same. And it is, this time of year, there is never no chance of rain. So I'm never telling people, oh, it's not going to rain that day. It's just irresponsible to say. So if that gives you an idea of what the weather is like this time of year, hopefully that's helpful. Please pay attention, heed every watch, warning, and advisory, because again, it's unpredictable. The darker green areas is your level 1 marginal risk, where we expect isolated severe weather to occur there. The yellow region is your level 2 slight risk, where we expect scattered about severe weather. And this orange area there for the northern plains is your level 3 enhanced risk, which is pretty much the mid-tier risk. And it's been a few days since we've had one of these. Definitely bad severe weather expected today through this evening in these areas. So please, please, please be safe, because this is a elevated risk of dangerous severe weather. Looking towards tomorrow on Tuesday the 8th, we have the large general thunderstorm risk again. and 2 marginal risks, which are rather large. Don't be surprised if we see a slight risk upgrade, especially in this Central Plains one. The Eastern one could have it, but usually when we see this larger area, there's more room for that slight risk to go. Wouldn't surprise me on Tuesday the 8th there at all. Day 3, pretty similar. General thunderstorm risk, 2 large marginal risks. Again, same thing goes. Don't be surprised if there's upgrades for Wednesday on the 9th here. We do have one extended day risk here for Thursday on July 10th. And that one's for the Northern Plains and the Upper Midwest. With all that being said, be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.